Why this story matters. In a world often dominated by negative headlines, stories like this remind us that meaningful progress is happening every day. Quick summary: this story highlights recent developments related to birds, showing how constructive action can lead to meaningful results. 58 years after his assassination, MLK's vision of love as a moral imperative matters now more than ever. More than 50 years after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., the United States remains divided by issues of race and racism, economic inequality, and unequal access to justice. For King, love was not sentimental, but rather a key part of creating communities that work for everyone and not just the few at the expense of the many. It also demanded that individuals tell their oppressors what they were doing was wrong. Would you like to read more good news about birds, clinics, bands, and brass? He noted that all persons exist in an interrelated community and all are dependent on each other. By connecting love to community, King argued there were opportunities to build a more just and economically sustainable society that respected difference. MLK is often portrayed as a civil saint, but his beliefs were truly radical. Here's what he really thought: a Minneapolis brass band founded after the murder of George Floyd is helping its community heal again. In 2021, Minnesota brass band Brass Solidarity was formed in response to the murder of George Floyd to bring people together to promote social justice through music. For more than 4 years, the diverse group of musicians has met weekly on Mondays, performing in George Floyd Square and occasionally at rallies and protests for a myriad of causes, as well as picnics and parades. On January 12, the Monday following the death of Renee Good, the group gathered at a memorial with instruments accompanying the words, "Ain't gonna let no fraidy cat ICE agent turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, I'm gonna keep on talking until freedom rings." Why is this good news? Music and art have healing powers, and the work of Brass Solidarity is even more critical in times of grief and crisis, and people agreed, saying the good trouble and good energy of the band was the antidote to ICE's occupation in the Twin Cities. This man has spent over 500 nights in jail. His crime? Feeding homeless communities without a permit for the third year in a row. College students report lower rates of depression and suicidal thoughts every year since 2013. Researchers have conducted the Healthy Minds study, gathering confidential data about the mental and behavioral health trends of college students. For the third year in a row, respondents reported decreased rates of depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. The 2025 study recorded responses from more than 8,000 students at 85 colleges and universities. Results showed continuing declines, including severe depression dropping to 18 in 2017, down from 12 in 2017, and suicidal thoughts decreased to 11 from 15. These sustained reductions tell me this is not a blip, said Justin Hines, a co-principal investigator of the study. A Minneapolis church has delivered free groceries to 24K families amid the ICE occupation. On Eagles Dios Habla Hoy, Pastor Sergio Ainscure noticed members of his community in Minneapolis were growing especially vulnerable to an intense surge of ICE officers in the area. He knew he had to do something. Starting in mid-December, the church organized hundreds of volunteers to pack non-perishable goods for the community and put out a call on Facebook for people in need of help. Within 2 days, 2,000 people signed up to help. As ICE tensions have only continued to escalate, so have the church's efforts. As of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, about 24,000 families have registered for help, and the church has delivered 12,000 boxes of groceries in about 6 weeks. Why is this good news? As Ainscure puts it, our immigrant community, and Latinos, especially Somalis, are going through hell. This coming together of volunteers and community members also proves to him that there's a better path forward, and it's defined by love and goodwill. You may also like, amid ICE crackdown, this Minneapolis sex shop has transformed into a donation center for neighbors in need. Scientists gave endangered birds insecticide-sprayed feathers to help them build new nests. It saved them from a deadly parasite. U.S. electricity demand surged last year, and solar covered cyclone of it in 2020. Electricity demand in the U.S. jumped by nearly 5 terawatt-hours, a 3.1 increase, or the fourth largest annual rise in the past decades. In that same time period, solar generation grew by 82 TWh, a 20% increase over 2024, and the largest gain of any power source, and it covered 61% of all new electricity demand in the country. When looking at just daytime hours between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m., the increase in solar generation met the entire rise in demand. The UK announced a plan to give households 15 billion for solar panels and other green tech. Under a new Warm Homes Plan, households across the UK will be eligible to receive thousands of pounds worth of solar panels and green tech to help lower energy bills. In total, 15 billion will be distributed over the next 5 years in an effort to create a rooftop revolution to both triple the number of homes with solar and lift 1 million people out of fuel poverty. The plan has been years in the making and will focus on funding solar panels, heat pumps and batteries, which together could save households $500 annually on energy bills, though others estimate it could be over 1,000. Why is this good news? While the cost associated with solar panels and other green tech is growing more competitive, it's still prohibitive for the average household. This boost will help not only with the clean energy transition, but to ensure a warm home isn't a privilege, but a basic